And welcome to the January meeting of the Behavioral Health Subcommittee. I want to welcome you all tonight, and I'm glad you all took time out to come. We have a lot to talk about, and we are going to begin this evening with our introductions. Well, we got group values on the agenda. I get mixed up a lot. What can I say? Would you like to read them, Claudia?
Yeah, welcome everyone. My name is Claudia. I'm the project assistant for PSEP. So let's start with the values around PSEP. First one is listen actively and respectfully, share airtime, be present and open to new information and perspectives, assume positive intent, respect each other, respect the group, speak your own truth, communicate directly, honestly, and respectfully, ask questions to clarify, call out bias, and be okay with ambiguity. And then we do also want to just share the Zoom housekeeping. We just ask folks, if you're not talking, to please mute. And we, as staff, we look out for Zoom bombing specifically. And if you do have questions, either write them in the chat or whenever someone is ready to share, they're also welcome to share. So these are just a quick Zoom housekeeping. Thank you all.
Thank you, Claudia. And now we're going to move on to the Zoom. Did you do the Zoom information? Wow, you're fast. Okay, now we're going to do introductions. And our question of the meeting is, what do you look forward to doing in 2022? Real simple question. So my name is Amy Anderson. I am the Behavioral Health Chair. And what I'm looking forward to in 2022 is continuing to develop my peer employment agency. I want to build an employment agency for peers. And so I'm going to keep working towards that endeavor. And that's my goal for this year, get more solidified. So I'm going to call on Tia.
My name is Tia Palafox. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member volunteer of the Behavioral Health Subcommittee. And what I'm looking forward to in 2022 is more travel, hopefully some international travel. I'm boosted, still nervous about getting on the plane or being in the airport, but looks like Jared's doing okay. So hopefully I'll be safe and can travel again. And I'll pass it to Byron.
All right, Byron, PSEP member, Behavioral Subcommittee member. What I'm looking forward in 2022 is a better than 2021. Pass it to Gloria.
All right. I'm Gloria Canton, she, her pronouns. I think 2022, I am going to do the things that I missed doing in 2020. I want to do a little bit more reading. I like music. I like good jazz. I'm going to listen to a little bit more jazz, even if I can't get out. I'm going to play more of that in my house and take some time to reflect, see what I can put down on paper. That's it. And I'm going to pass it on to Judith.
Thank you, everybody. Hi, I'm Judith. I work with the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and I'm support staff that support you all, and will be supporting a little more with Theo making a transition. And what am my thing for this year is to, wow, you know, I'm kind of really trying to work on staying in the present. So I can't really future trip, but certainly it will be reading, and I really like that, Gloria. I'm going to adopt that. I love jazz too. I'm going to play more jazz.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Yes.
Thanks. And I will pass it to Chase.
Hey, I'm Chase Bryson. I'm the CIT coordinator for the Portland Police Bureau. And for me, Judith, I'm also looking to focus on the present. And I think, but that might be my goal for this year, is to leave tomorrow's problems for tomorrow and worry about what I can change today. So that's my goal, a bigger theme thing, but.
You get to call on somebody, Chase.
Yes. It's been a whole month. I already forgot what to do. Theo, you're up.
Thanks, Chase. My name's Theo Lada. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a PSEP staff member. Like Gloria, and Judith, I'm also a huge fan of jazz. I was just listening to Charles Mingus earlier today.
Ooh, really?
Wonderful. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with my son and just going outside, getting to the water, and doing that whole thing. Thanks for being here, everyone. Anika.
Hi, good evening. Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Anika Benta Albert, Deputy City Attorney for the City of Portland. She, her pronouns. What am I looking forward to this year? I don't know. I can't think past this Omicron right now. But I do know we bought tickets for my niece's wedding in Mexico City. So I'm hoping we can go and travel and get there in April.
Good.
Nice.
Let's see. I will call on Claudia.
Hi, welcome everyone. Again, I'm Claudia. And I think I'm similar to Nika's story. I'm looking forward to going to another family wedding in April down in California for one of my cousins. And I just always enjoy family time because majority of my family lives in California. So it's always nice to go back, especially when it's, family gatherings such as a wedding. Those are memorable. So yeah, and I will pass it to Barb.
Hey, my name is Barb. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of this subcommittee, but not of PSEP. What I am looking forward to is building relationships. It was my goal for 2020, and we all know what happened with 2020. So kind of trying to get back on that cycle. And I'm not sure who is left. Mary Claire.
Oh, you caught me.
Last but not least.
Thank you, dear. Mary Claire Buckley, Portland Police Inspector General. Beyond looking forward to hot chocolate with Barb that we haven't quite pulled off yet. I am with Tia. I want to do more traveling. I appreciate people wanting to live in the present, but I always have to have a foothold of looking forward to some new adventure and new travel. So I'm hoping to get back to that in 22. Thanks.
Did I miss Barbara's share? Barbara from Portland Cop Watch.
Nope, because I didn't do it.
Well, there you go. Your turn.
So what I would like, well, I have a family, hopefully a family reunion coming up in June or something. And I guess I'm looking forward to, I know the Omicron's bad, but I'm just hoping things stabilize a bit. And yeah, and I won't be doing as much caregiving. And so I'm hoping to, when I travel, just to go visit people and have fun after my mom's funeral on Saturday. You know, it is sad, but you know what? She lived till she was 97.
Wow.
He was done.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry though, Barbara, it's still
Yeah,
losing your mom's a
it is
big
sad.
deal.
And did I hear Theo?
Yeah, I think that was everybody.
Okay.
Back to you, Amy.
Alrighty, we're back for our main event. Tonight's discussion, as many of you know, a while back, our committee reviewed the directives for the wellness program, and we've been reviewing them for a couple of months and everything. And so at the last meeting, I asked everyone if they could take a look at the directives, the wellness directives, because they were just about ready to be finalized. And they're now being sent over to the police chief for review. But I wanted to give everyone an opportunity. Barb has graciously created a letter of support. We want to let the folks know at PBB that we support the latest rendition of the directives as they are currently written. And we will, Barb's going to talk a little bit more. So I'm going to turn this over to Barb for the next few minutes through the
Okay.
discussion.
Well, Claudia, can you bring up the sparse letter that I wrote? I basically just wrote something very, very basic so that we could add to it. And I know Tia already has something she wants to add to it. And Claudia, I was hoping you were going to be able to like edit it like
Edit
before
on
our
the
very
fly.
eyes. Will that work? Because that would be awesome. That would be magical. And
Can you all see the document?
Huh?
Can you all see the document?
yeah,
Okay.
I can see it. And I was actually going to ask for somebody to drop the, for actually Claudia to, well, it's on the agenda. There's a link on the agenda actually to the directive, and the agenda's in the chat already. And last month, like Amy said, Leo, who oversees the wellness program, came and talked again about the program. And he was also here in August and talked about the wellness program. And they're about ready to come out with a report about the wellness time program pilot. So a year, they did, it was like a year pilot. And it just makes sense that at this point in time, since it's about to become a directive, that it seems pretty easy for and obvious, I guess, for this subcommittee to consider supporting it. And if we support it as a subcommittee, then the next question would be, do we want to ask for support from the rest of the PSEP, or just send it with the subcommittee's name on it? And I cannot necessarily
So we're looking for input.
see everybody to see if anybody's hands are up. But I know that Tia had some suggestions, right, Tia?
Yeah, oh, yes. Am
And then I know Gloria's hand is up.
I unmuted?
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to, when I read the letter, I agreed with it, but I wanted to add, wow.
And there you are.
Okay. I wanted to add something about how it impacts the community. Because it was so, sorry, it's distracting because I don't know, there's different things coming on my screen, so I'm not
It's Kevin, just ignore him.
Okay, I got
That's you.
distracted.
Welcome, Kevin.
Okay, so what I wanted to add was something like, which will have a direct and positive impact on the community. Or even which supports the mental health of the community. So it shows that it's not only, we're not only focused on the Portland Police Bureau, but on the community, as I believe the mental health subcommittee is to really focus on the community's voice.
Yeah, except I think in this situation, it's specifically for officer wellness. I
Right,
don't
but
think it
she's
applies to the
saying-
community in
she-
this one.
She's suggesting that the wellness of officers make for a well.
Right. But as far as the letter of support for the directives, that's a specific scenario where it involves officer wellness. Is that correct, Chase? Do you know?
Are you asking that the directive is just specifically focused on the officer wellness? Is that the
Yes, yes.
question? Yes.
Okay.
Tia is saying that though, and that unless I'm wrong, Tia, that like obviously one of the goals of us officers being well is that that improves our ability to positively interact with the community.
Yes. Yeah,
Awesome.
somehow showing that the wellness of the police department contributes to the wellness of the community.
Excellent. Let's figure out how to put that in there somewhere. I get it now. Thanks. Sometimes I need a little more so I can picture it. Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Chase.
Anybody else have anything they would like?
Gloria's hand.
Gloria, go ahead.
You know, I have thought about this for quite some time, for about 2 years now, when it first came out. And I was wondering why it was taking so long to attach standards to this, or some kind of guideline, or, you know, some kind of direction. And I haven't seen that. And I was just wondering if when the police department, when the chief goes over it and he comes back with his recommendations, will he speak to it? So are we a little premature stepping out right now before we hear which direction he's going to be going in? And then two, I agree with Tia, but I am more concerned about the shootings in the Black community and in the community of color and in Southeast Portland. I am really wondering, what are we going to do about the community's wellness? So that piece that Tia asked, that it be added, and Chase put it in good words. I mean, he worded it like it should be: better police, better community communication. I like that. I just wish that we would wait, bring it to the whole group. Don't just send it in as a PSEP subcommittee. I think it would have more impact if we sent it in as PSEP as a whole. I don't want you to misunderstand me. I am not against the wellness of police officers. I depend on them as much as anyone else on the committee. However, I want to make sure that that wellness is felt in my community.
That was wonderful, Gloria. And you know, Barb and I were talking that this was going to be like the very first step in the introduction of the idea. Like our goal was to bring it through to PSEP, but I wanted to bring it here first and see what everybody thought about it. I like your idea of waiting. We can wait. I'm in no hurry to rush. Your ideas make perfect sense. But if he comes back and does not address the accountability piece,
Ooh,
is that still going to be a problem?
I think it would be, but I don't see the chief of police coming back and not addressing the accountability, because accountability is what's being hit hard in the news and in the community, in the churches, the organization. Everybody is being held accountable. Why shouldn't the police be held accountable?
Well,
I'm just going to give my personal opinion on this one. From what I understand and what I've heard, is they want this to be a volunteer process where officers voluntarily decide to get better and not mandated or forced. Sometimes you have outcomes based upon things that are going to be mandatory requirements. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're trying to see how many officers voluntarily want to use these options for improving their wellness. That's why I found it hard to look for outcomes, because in something that you ask volunteers for, usually you don't track the outcomes in that manner, unless somebody else knows a way how.
Is it a Portland police project that they're of the wellness project? Is it sponsored by?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't they want to have an accountability system built in?
well, actually, there are things that they're going to be looking for, right?
And what are they?
Excuse me, did I not, I didn't get them spit out fast enough. I'm sorry, right? Did you just say what are they?
Yes. Maybe I could
Well,
better understand.
some of them include a decrease in the complaints, or at least a change in the types of complaints, decrease in member injuries, decrease in time lost due to member injuries, sorry, increase in morale. I'm not going to say that they've got hard and fast metrics associated with it right now, but I think it'll be interesting to see what they come up with from the wellness time pilot that they're about to hopefully present. And I want to address your first question though, about whether it's gonna come across the chief's desk already, because I think it has already gone to him for review. Am I correct, Mary Claire? Are you there? That's what I
am here. I don't know if he signed off on it yet or not.
That's not the question though.
Oh,
Has he seen it in terms of, is he likely to have more
sure.
suggestions?
Yeah, the policy, I mean, just so you understand, when a policy is developed, it is brought to the chief and to, all the members of the chief's office, the assistants and what have you, at a policy team. So we get our direction for policy and our approval, from the chief's office. So, yeah, he'd be aware of the creation
Right, okay.
and the goal of the policy.
Thanks, Mary Claire. I just
Yep.
wanted to check in there. I don't think that means that we can't make any kind of specific suggestions for metrics, Gloria. And I think that some of it, like, kind of like what Tia and Chase are crafting, there's kind of like, I think, an idea that, if the officers weren't cranky, if they had more sleep, that kind of thing, they might be better at their jobs, I guess is a good way to say that in some ways. Sorry, Chase. Couldn't think of a better term. off the top of off the tip of my tongue. Those are just some of my thoughts on that. You just put your hand back up.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask Chase if he could clarify something for me. I need to know, Chase, how you see it pouring over into the communities. Now, I've already heard that about there'll be better policemen if they go through this wellness program. But see, I'm not too sure what the wellness program is. Does it give officers time off during the day so that they can go somewhere and relax or talk to someone for so many hours? Or what is it? What is the wellness program?
Yeah, and I can give you my general overview. Obviously, Leo's the expert here, but yeah, it's essentially you get an hour in your shift to engage in some sort of wellness activity. That could be working out, that could be meditation, that could be a mental health provider visit, that could be I guess quiet time if that's what you need. There aren't like a set thing of like this is exactly what you have to do. It's not time, at least currently, where you can just like leave work and go do something else. Like you're on bureau property during bureau time, and you're subject to recall. Obviously, if the city needs you, you have to come back and help. And the goal, and just to speak to kind of some of your other questions, and I obviously again I'm not the expert here. I think the goal is for it to be voluntary, and I think the as far as like being better in the community is just as being a more healthy individual and a person. Like inherently, you're probably going to interact better. And the bureau is not doing that, as far as I know, like a true study, which is obviously what you would really need to do with two groups, one doing it, one not doing it, and then studying like does one group have less or more complaints, all that, because obviously there's a lot of factors. We could see correlation, but it's not necessarily causation. And so I don't think that that's happening now, at least, and not part of the directive. I think the goal is to get the directive in place so that we can officially like formalize what's happening now. And I think the thought is just not anecdotally, but I think just it follows that obviously like a more mentally and physically well person is going to perform their job better, no matter what job it is, really. And I think that's the goal. And I can't speak specifically to like exactly how we would measure that. That's a Leo question. I know that he kind of addressed that a little bit when he was here last month. Yeah, I don't know if I answered all the questions you asked, but.
You put me on the right track. And if someone were getting ready to develop guidelines, that what you mentioned last about how does that act out in police being more responsible to the community, that would probably be one of the directives that I would have to add in there. How can I tell if it has the crime rate dropped? Have they stopped shooting people? Have they stopped arresting youth? If I could see something more tangible. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, so I'm gonna stop because I've already said what I had to say. But back to those, Judith came out with some points. I think it was Judith. Judith, were you the one that came out with some points about what it would do for the police?
It was not me that I remember.
Well, maybe
Barb, I
Sorry.
think, just a minute ago.
Yes, Barb. Well, what it would do for the police is a good thing, because after all, it is police policy. But what will it do for my community is my bigger issue. And I'm gonna back off and let everybody else have their say now. I've said it.
And I don't know, Amy, if you've noticed, Barbara's had her hand up.
Yes, I saw that. but Amy had something else I think she wanted to say.
Just real quickly, for everyone in the room, we have done an extensive discussion on all this material, and the links are in the agenda. Feel free to watch the videos. You will learn tremendous amounts of information. So go ahead, Barbara.
Hi, I just remember just this kind of a side issue here. When I was working, a lot of people, myself included, were a little hesitant to like have counseling. Just there's a stigma, and then also you have your employer has your records, or even at least to know that you went to counseling. And I don't know, I always, if I wanted to go to counseling, kind of went outside of work. Just saying. So I don't know how that's gonna, I mean, things are a little different now as far as people going to counseling and talking about having mental health issues or, anxiety or whatever, but,
Go
Without
ahead, Jason, then I'll say something.
Just without rehashing, the past meeting stuff too much, we have our EAP program, our employee assistance program is very robust. And so officers can access counseling outside of the police bureau. No one has to know. They could just use that time to do those appointments. And also, as you mentioned, I think certainly a stigma that may have been there even 10 years ago when I started has shifted significantly to the point where I'll hear people talk about like their counselor like at work. So I think certainly our culture is not anti like being willing to go see a counselor, even if you're not totally in crisis, right? Like just as like a maintenance thing.
Good word.
Okay. Thanks, Chase.
Thank you.
You said it really, really, really well. Yeah, I can't give a big enough shout out to the 3 meetings we have linked on the agenda, including the December meeting. If you missed it toward the beginning, Mary Claire does an amazing job explaining the directive process. And I want to thank her again for doing that. So are there any other hands up? Because I can only see the participants, but I know Judith would help me.
No, I don't see any other hands.
So should we, Claudia, put the letter back up and put that sentence in or whatever and see if there's anything else we want to change or add? Or Theo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Claudia, Theo.
Yeah. Teamwork, safety first, then teamwork. This is the language that Tia suggested in an email that she sent. So that's just highlighted. But I can make edits however you all want in the document.
I think we really liked what Chase said because it was really close to what Tia said, but bridged the gap. Chase, I hope you're not trying to like eat dinner or play a game with your kid or something.
Nope.
It's awesome to have you here.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Direct positive impact. So I guess say what you said before. Maybe I'm not.
See, you're hoping I can remember exactly what I said before.
That's okay. This program is recorded. We can go back and
We
re-listen.
have to.
So if we have to, we'll have edits available.
But no, we can.
I think it was essentially something to the effect of that, like officers will help improve or help create more positive interactions with the community or something to that effect. That's not exactly what it was.
Have to rewind it.
I like that.
Good stuff comes out right away and you can't always repeat it. I totally relate. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's any way he said that was.
Yeah.
Put it, Theo. Will you put it before the word it says period this, throw that sentence in there. Now's the hard part because we have to remember that part again. What if we say the wellness of officers impacts the wellness of the community, impacts the community? I'm not saying it well.
Wellness officers impact the wellness of the community.
Why don't we let it ride and
Byron,
review the
what?
tape?
I was saying the wellness of the officers impacts the wellness of the community.
Thank you.
But that's redundant.
We're putting Tia's
Hold on.
proposal up.
Interactions, how about the interactions with the community?
Interactions with the community.
Our hope is that improving the wellness of officers will create more positive interactions
Yes.
or increase the likelihood of more positive interactions with the community, or something like that. Is that increasing the wellness of officers?
Officers.
Will create more positive interactions with the community or something like that?
Create more positive energy.
Within,
What was that, Gloria?
within
And within
the community.
communities,
Mhm.
plural.
Yes. IES.
There you go.
What's everyone say? Thumbs up?
Yes. Should be a little longer.
Well, we should, if we all agree or whatever that we want to have the PSEP support it, I think we need to write like a longer preamble. But I don't think this is anything unfamiliar to Chief Chuck, as in the wellness directive. So everything I thought about writing just seemed sort of silly to be writing to him. So I agree. I just have not exactly figured out how to make it meatier, unless we were making like a suggestion or something specific, I guess.
What, that last paragraph, I'm sorry, I didn't have my hand up, but I can put it up.
Okay,
if you
Gloria.
want. This directive institutionalizes the wellness program. What does that mean?
Okay, so Gloria, the directive 00500.00 that Leo talked about
The wellness program.
in December, that describes the wellness program. And so it is basically inclusive of trainings as part of in-service. And then
No, her question was on the word usage, institutionalization. Just on that word.
Is that what you're asking about? What
Yes.
institutionalizes means?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Gloria. Did I totally miss?
Yeah, because it looks like you're making it part of the whole. It's an
They are making it part of, that's what a directive does.
Yeah, but that's not what
They
this
want a different
letter is
word.
trying to do, is it?
It's supporting the initiative that's going to make it a universal process. If you want to remove the word institutionalizes, I get you. We
Yeah,
just have to come up with a word that shows that it's a PPB, like,
this directive is in support of the
There you
wellness program.
No,
No, no, no, no.
I
This,
want to know what anybody else thinks, first of all. Is that okay, Gloria?
Oh, yes, honey, go on.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? Because I wrestled with it a little bit, but I know that I've heard it said. And I couldn't really think of,
well, that could be the
Hey.
implicit biases we carry, so we have
Better.
to come up with a new word.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you read it or if you
Yeah.
understand what we're trying to get across, I don't think,
Yes, yes.
so I think it's fine.
Oh, you think it's okay?
Yeah, leave it.
Okay. Because it represents the community that we're working with, right? It puts
Yeah.
it into the
No,
police institution, which is what it is.
Yes.
It is.
No.
Yes.
And this is just a reminder, there can be, if this is going to be brought to the general PSEP
Yeah.
later on,
discuss
there will be time for a broader discussion with more community. And more-
Yeah, we can add it on later on, or we can add, or we can, recorrect ourselves later on. This is not necessarily a correction, or how you, when you read it out to yourself, what do you hear in your
That was
ear?
my word, finalizes.
Yeah,
That's great, Tia. That's what I was just sitting here thinking. This directive finalizes the wellness program, which began in March 2019.
no, we don't want it to be final. We're like, it's still a work in progress. It always will be.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's why this is just a start, just a presentation in a sense.
Yeah, okay,
We got more things to come with this.
yes.
The problem I have with institutionalizing is because that means that you're setting up this as a foundation that is already established. You're putting it into practice, and this letter is not doing that. At least that wasn't my understanding.
No, the directive is doing it.
Yeah,
The directive is institutionalizing the wellness program.
The directive is the policies. Let's use that other word. It makes it more understandable. It's the policies the police follow when they're doing their thing. Let me make it simple.
And actually, Judith, will you throw in some training real quick around this? Because everybody hasn't been through training yet, unfortunately.
Yes, and we're working on that. So as Gloria, as folks are saying, the Bureau has a regular schedule that they bring these directives up for review. The wellness program was a new proposed program. They've done a pilot, and now the directive is the policy to go around it to make it an ongoing program of the Police Bureau. So this letter, as I see it, is just saying the PSEP supports the continuation of this program. Do I have that right, everybody? And I just wanted to add, Jared sent me something helpful, and I'm putting it in the box. This was the original.
No.
What? No.
Well, we need to do one at
This
a time, one at a time.
Okay, this is the original PSEP recommendation that was done when it was first proposed.
2
And
years
Gloria,
ago.
this includes a lot more of the sort of relevant data, and it was researched in that way. So I don't know if you've seen that already, but that might
2
be
years
helpful.
ago. It's when they
Yeah.
wrote that up. Yes.
Yeah, so
I've seen it.
good. I just want
But
to
I
make
haven't
sure.
seen any guidelines to go with it,
Mhm.
any standards.
Yeah. Do you
Any
have,
accountability.
I'm curious about what, so you're looking for outcomes. You want to
Yeah.
see what the
A
evaluation,
matrix with outcomes.
right, what the evaluation criteria is going to be.
Yes.
Yep.
That's because when I was teaching, that's what they looked for from
Yeah.
me.
And
And
I'm
it
trying to
would have
remember-
been, it would have been the same if it had been doctors or lawyers.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
it's not just a police department.
Right. And I'm trying to remember if any of that was addressed in Leo's presentation, because I know the question came up then as well.
No, was it?
Yeah, you were there, Gloria.
I
Yeah,
asked the question.
you
It
did.
wasn't.
That's what I'm remembering. Right.
Mhm. And I'm wondering why within 2 years hasn't it happened?
Oh, welcome to the city. I mean,
Yeah,
it's really,
I
things,
see.
I know it's terrible. Things take forever. Mary Claire, do you want to say anything about why things take a long time?
Nature of the beast. Well, first of all, I guess what I'm trying to figure out, institutionalize as well. You don't like that. You could say, I mean, institutionalize, I'm looking it up here, says established a practice or custom, which
Yeah.
is what we're doing. Or how about established, on a permanent, permanently establishes the wellness program, which if you don't like the word institutionalizes, because that's what they're doing. We're putting something in a policy, which means this will guide the Bureau. They are, bound by this, directives, determine how members, behave, act, whatever, respond. And so that's what this directive, what they're saying is this is no longer just a temporary kind of thing, or, an experiment or what have you. By setting up a directive, it's, trying to establish it as a permanent part of the Bureau. And
But it hasn't been yet.
Huh?
It has not been yet, because the directive has not been passed by Lovell. He hasn't given his.
No, by creating a directive, what that does is establish it firmly in the Bureau, so that, wellness won't go away tomorrow unless the policy is rescinded. It takes, more. What they're doing is giving the recognition to this, concept, wellness, that wellness is important. It is, raising it up such that it's, part of, the Bureau's infrastructure, basically, if you would. Sorry, Keith. So I'm just trying to help you with that. But, some of the outcomes, I understand what you want, measurements and matrix and stuff. Those aren't often, included in the directive itself, but I certainly think that you folks could make recommendations, for metrics that you would like the Bureau to, to use. The wellness, as you know, that's Leo's job, is to be the, head of the wellness program. And he could consider any of your recommendations as to what kind of outcome measures, matrix, whatever, that you would like him to consider implementing. I do think he talked a little bit about the last meeting, that some of the stuff is not as easy when you have a voluntary program, and, some, people aren't required to share whether they are, what they're doing on their wellness. But, and that makes, measurements harder. You're only going to get the people who share. Like we did have, people were keeping track, but they're not forced to keep track of their time. So you're not getting a completely accurate number of hours that every member is doing, because they're not required to do it. But, on a voluntary basis, a lot of people do keep track of their hours. You know what I mean? So having outcomes on a voluntary program, it, has its, own issues. But as I think Leo was talking about, what they want to do is see if it affects other things that we track, like use of force, like, officer injuries, about officer, sick leave, or things like that. You might be able to look at how many, sick days, or the average for an officer prior to the wellness program being, implemented. And although it doesn't prove it, it may certainly give you an idea of whether, in fact, it is having the intended effect. So I don't know that supporting this, the directive, precludes you from, making recommendations about what metrics Leo and his team might, look at to judge its, the success of the wellness program, I guess.
Can
I
I
think
just,
that-
I want to, sorry. I just wanted to recommend that people read the chat. Jared can't talk on the plane, but I think he's both made recommendations of possible metrics to request or to add in for some of that evaluation. And he just asked a question For you, Mary Claire, you have to apply for the hour, right? You might, or is it an honor system, or is there some kind of oversight over using that hour?
There's an RU unit manager for it.
People are entitled to use it. I don't think that, you know.
Yeah, so they don't have to report that they've used it. They don't have to code it on their card or on their
No.
timesheet or anything. Okay,
No.
that was the question.
I think that in research, most times it's unethical to require people to give feedback, to provide feedback, whether it's in a survey or in a focus group. Nobody can require anybody to provide information. So all data collected is always going to be voluntary for the most part. Generally, the majority of data is going to be voluntary. I think to Gloria's point, I wonder if it's possible to include in the letter like an encouragement later on down the line to collect data when applicable. Would that be helpful to you, Gloria?
It would be helpful. You know, when we wrote the letter to the mayor about rehires, we had specific things that we asked that the mayor put in for the rehires, and he added every one of them. When we talked about body-worn cameras, we talked about specifics that we wanted to see added. I don't see any difference here. If we want to make an impact, if we really want to make sure that PSEP comes out strong in this, then we should be putting some kind of matrix of our own in here, in this letter. And we might not get it done tonight, but like Barbara said, or Amy, we're not in any hurry.
Actually, there's really not a lot of point in, am I even on the mic? It's not where I wanted to start, but there's not a lot of point in dragging this on as far as time-wise goes. I think that we can take it in front of the PSEP with or without other language regarding metrics, which Gloria, you are more than welcome to suggest. And then it can either go pretty much like this if the rest of the PSEP doesn't want it, or if the PSEP and you decide that you want to say stuff about metrics or whatever, it can be added then.
Yes.
But I want to be clear that there's supposed to be, you know, the tiniest little bit of data collection is first going to be coming out very soon as far as the wellness time program and the use of that. And there is oversight of that. There's a manager in each RU of the wellness program. Well, I don't know if manager is the right term, and I don't know if Chase can help me on that one, but it's not just like this willy-nilly, oh yeah, that's where I was, boss. I was out on wellness time, you know. So yeah, maybe even looking at the other presentations that Leo did might help too, because he mentioned metrics that they, you know, want to collect, but I also think that metrics don't necessarily specifically belong being spelled out in a directive. So I'm thinking, if it's okay with everybody, can we leave it like this and then ask the PSEP?
Barb, as a PSEP member, I support this wellness program for a directive. I encourage my other PSEP members to agree along with this to move forward with it.
Thanks, Byron.
We'll bring it to the steering committee to move it forward, since that's our next step in the progression of going to the big going to the big meeting with it. So we'll bring it forward. Hopefully it'll be modified and rewritten, so we can have the next version at the steering committee next week, and then we'll go from there. How does that sound?
That's good. That's good.
There's only gonna be a quote next version, Gloria, if you send me something to add to it.
If we all.
Amy
send
doesn't see
something-
that we added to it with what was right there, so already. So if there's language you want to work on with me for proposed language, let me know, okay?
I'll do that.
All right. And then we can, present it both ways and get public input. Basically where I'm at, as much as we'd like to spend the time with getting public input at the next meeting and then recrafting and coming back a month later in February, which would be, I think, what we would do if we had a recommendation and we weren't up against any kind of clock and it was, not something we've been working on for 6 months that started when there were only a couple of us on the committee. That if the PSEP or the public isn't necessarily for it at the PSEP meeting, I would say we should send it how it is now, or potentially with Gloria's changes.
We'll let everybody
Okay.
know. We'll send out an email to everybody and keep you all updated on what
I'm
the next
sorry,
reiteration
I'm really
is.
confused by what's in the chat. So that was what stopped me there. My bad.
It was because I asked a question about, or I commented that employers can't force anybody to fill out a survey. Jared said his comment that because it's not social science, it's employment. Your employer can make you validate the reasons of sick leave. And then
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, said that.
But I think everybody's done a great job staying in. It's been hard to understand each other sometimes, but you've all hung in and continued to communicate. I just want to give a big shout out from the conflict resolution part of my heart to thank everybody for hanging in on the conversation.
All right, well, the next part of the agenda is going to get even more interesting because it has come to our attention that the mental health directives are up for the first review process, which we've attached links into the agenda. There are numerous subjects under this category. Thank you for pulling it up. What Barb and I were thinking was that we would ask the group which section you felt was the most important to start with. Because we're good. This is like very big at the beginning, phase 1, just, getting started. There's 2 weeks to turn in our first level of recommendations, I'll call it. And so I wanted to bring up the topics to see what folks thought was the most important thing to start with, because I have my own opinions based on the work I do, but I wanted to hear from everyone else first. And since I can't scroll the screen, somebody's going to have to
I'm looking at
scroll
what
it.
Tia wrote. I agree, Tia, with that's a good place to start because that's the biggest, and it's actually the first one numerically. Does anybody else have any other thoughts?
I have a question. This has been brought up before. I think Dan brings this up regularly about asking if this review time couldn't be
So funny you
elongated.
should ask that, Judith. One of the directives that's, am I stealing your thunder, Mary Claire? One of the directives that's up for review is the directive on how to review directives.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that would be a perfect suggestion for PSEP as a whole to make.
Yeah, it's super hard to work with the PSEP schedule and have 2 weeks. That's not a
Exactly. And also the contemplation was whether or not the policy subcommittee should take on that one discussion, the discussion of the actual formulation of the directives, because it's like central to the whole process. So I was hoping Anne might be here to ask, but she's not here. So I was thinking of doing it at the steering committee, was having this discussion about that group taking over that discussion so we can really get things on the ground. But for now, I'm hoping folks will take the time. The mental health and crisis directives aren't very long. It's only like a half a page. There's not much to it, but it does get kind of chunky because it's hard to understand who's the police, who's the person, and then who are the people providing the care. Because I've read it, and it's pretty specific in some of the areas that they govern. And I have tons of questions, but I'm not going to start that tonight. But I did want to find out how everyone would like to proceed with having a deep dive into this subject matter, because I think it's important to our work on the inside in PSEP, and it's important to the results we want in the community with officer involvement with the crisis. So anybody else have a chance to take a look at the links?
Yes.
In the meantime, Chase, I have a question if you can answer real quick about, is a peace officer the same as a police officer, or are they different?
It's the same, yeah. You can interchange those. Someone that's sworn, it's the state language in the state law. It's my understanding. I didn't write the policy, obviously, but.
Well, the internet agrees with you.
Okay.
Like
because some of the language says peace officer and some of the language says member. And so it really causes a confusion, because I don't know whether a peace officer is the same as a police officer in that respect, which is why I want to go through this, because the language of those directives is extremely confusing, because it's hard to determine who's who and who does what. So
Start there.
yeah. So we have a little bit of time. What is it, like 10 after?
It looks like Barbara has a question from.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I don't see the hands very well. I'm vision.
Oh, okay. I noticed that in one situation, you were supposed to have 4 officers and a supervisor, and in another one, 2 officers and a supervisor. And I'm hoping in the directive that it's sort of spelled out what exactly their roles are supposed to be. So it's not just like, oh, 4 officers and a supervisor are supposed to show up. So it just seems like more force, but are they gonna like have a strategy or something of how it works? That would be.
The way they're currently written out, in my reading them, there's nothing like that in there, which is why I want to do this.
Right. But anyway, that would be something that personally, I mean, I want to talk to cop watch people more, but that would seem to me to be important, not just, you know.
Chase might be able to answer it, but also
Yeah.
my question is, do they have enough cops to do what they used to be able to do? And is that affecting it?
First of all, so the 850-25 is where you're talking about response to designated mental health facilities.
No, the one where it's, yeah, that's part of it. But the subject I want to start with is the one where it says mental health and crisis. Like the response.
Well, Barbara's question was directed at the mental health facility response.
Oh.
Yeah. And how many officers? I would like to know what they were supposed to be doing, if it would be clear, like, so that they would have a, you know, maybe a more constructive plan, and, you know, there's, if possible, if it's not little mayhem, you know.
Yeah. And did you read the 850-25? Is that what you're talking about? The response to mental health facilities?
I read it in, okay, there were 3 links. One was a written one and 2 were videos. And I read the the one where it spelled out how many officers were supposed to come. It wasn't real
Okay.
detailed. Maybe there's some place where it's more detailed.
Yeah, well, and so in 85025, it talks about the different responses. It talks about advising sergeants on if there's an immediate or exigent circumstance. Then it talks about using roadmap, which is our kind of response that's talked about in 85020 as well, which is strategies to respond to these calls that are like de-escalation strategies. And then it gives like specific steps of, prior to entering the facility, evaluate the nature of the situation and necessity for police intervention when time allows, and I won't read them all for you, but they're there. So that's in 85025. So it's
Okay.
pretty specific. And then obviously in the problem we always, again, I'm no policy expert. I teach these policies, so I can speak to them a little bit. The problem we always run into is we can't, account for every possible outcome. And so we teach principles. And we have a class on mental health facility response for our ECIT officers, which are required, on those 2 facilities, an ECIT officer is required to be one of the members that responds to those calls. And our hope is that they kind of take the leadership role in that call, and help sergeant in making decisions on how we're going to proceed and resolve that challenge, or if our intervention's even needed.
Okay.
Chase, I want to ask you something real quick, just because I experienced something this week. I was on call and I was under a different impression that when someone comes out to do a director's hold, that an individual would most likely go to a hospital where they needed to go, because that's why they were called out. But what I learned is if the individual says, no, I don't want to go, then nothing happens further. And so I'm just lost, because I guess I don't understand what a director's hold does if the individual has a choice to go or not go.
So you're saying director's hold, was it a police officer or like a project respond clinician?
Both, one of each.
Okay. So it would have been project responder writing the director's custody in that case then. But did they actually write a director's custody hold?
Yes.
Okay. And then did police choose not to effect that hold? It's kind of what
They
happened?
said because the individual had decided not to go, that they weren't going to force him to go.
Okay. Without obviously getting into like uber specifics of that circumstance, I can tell you how generally we would train them to assess that situation.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for,
kind of
is like, this was a scenario and I'd never heard of anyone having the option to go or stay. I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah. Well, my impression was, if the hold's written, right, like that, the whole point of the hold is that they don't have the option, right? So yes, you're right there. A director's custody or a peace officer's hold is they technically don't have the option, but the officers have the option of when and how to affect that hold, or if the risk benefit of affecting the hold. And so the way that I teach it, and I talk to project respond about it this way, and then our officers, is there's really 2 decision points when doing a director's custody or peace officer's hold. Does this person meet criteria for a hold? Yes, no. Yes. Okay. We could write a hold here. What is the risk and benefit of affecting this hold right now? If it's like, I think by affecting this hold right now, I'm gonna have to kick in a door, get in a giant fight, maybe someone gets seriously injured, them or us. Now, is the risk that they're posing to themselves or others that extreme that like maybe that is reasonable if they're very risky? But in a lot of cases, that is probably not going to be reasonable. And there's a whole policy of what they have to do, and that's called a disengagement if we choose not to effect a hold. We have a whole policy of what they have to do, which is not just like walk away